Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gimme Back My Horror Movies, the podcast. I am your host, Charlie, and not with me, as always, is no Nate tonight. I lost Nate somewhere. He's out wandering the streets somewhere in Columbus. If you find him, please return him back to his home. We're all a little worried about him. No, but he's good. He had other things he had to do. So I'm not solo though. I have a really good guest with us tonight. You've heard him on here before. It's been a little while. He's been begging to come back on. I think I get a weekly email from him or something. I'm not sure. It's not that bad. We got James from PosterSmash with us. Say hello, James.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Oh, I hope they're all doing good. I hope they're all hyped. We've had a bad run of movies as far as I'm concerned. So I'm hoping this digs us out of the slump. Nate was supposed to be here so I could unground him, but guess what? He's still grounded for another week. So we'll just see what happens when he comes back.
Well, he's missing out.
He is missing out. As everybody can see, Charlie dug deep. I want a movie I know I love. I watched a lot as a teenager, and I can watch it anytime it's on, and it's House. We are doing House, and I watched it again last night, and I still love this movie. It is absolutely one of my favorites. What did you think about whenever you found out this was the movie we were doing, James?
I was excited. This is one of those movies that I can remember watching. It just seems like an infinite amount of times growing up. I don't know
Yes.
why. I don't know if it was on cable. I do know that I rented it a few times. But yeah, it was one of those movies that really, even my younger brother, um, him and I were talking. I just told him that I was going to be doing the podcast with you, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to talk about House?" And he goes, "You better talk about." And he started rattling stuff off, and I went, "You remember it too?" I
We
mean, there's just stuff that sticks with you.
we have a group chat with all the guys in Columbus, all our buddies and stuff like Mark and Cody, and I had sent over and I'm like, yeah, we're doing House. Both of them immediately were like, are you talking this one? And they're sharing the same pick, the VHS cover we all know, and they're like, we watched it countless times. I don't know how many times me and my buddy Ben rented this one and House 2. We always rented all the time, especially when we did those like 5 movies for $5
Right.
weeks. It was like, well, I want this one. Let's get the House movies again. I love those things. So yeah, I wanted a movie I knew I was going to enjoy. It's a cult classic as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think it's required watching in the horror community. If you haven't seen this movie, it's important to watch it. It also falls into this weird comedy horror genre that it, okay, I'll admit it kind of is an acquired taste for some. You
Right.
got ones that they want that blood and guts and they want to be terrified and they don't want any silliness other than maybe a one-time gag. No, this is right up there with like Brain Dead / Dead Alive, whatever you want to call it. The Evil Dead, kind of more into the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness kind of movies where they didn't take themselves serious in this.
No.
And I love it. And it is also one of my favorite practical effect movies. And and James knows we talked about it when he came on. And if anyone hasn't remembered, James was on because he did WitchHouse, and that thing's got a lot of steam going on in the independent like film festivals going on right now. So we are keeping our eyes and ears open on that one right there. I'm making James all like, "Oh man, I didn't know we were going to talk about that. Stop it." But no, it's the practical effects in this one. So I was like, it was another reason I was happy to have James on this one. I was like, okay, he's gonna really dig talking about what makes this movie so, I guess, charming and
Right, because
fun. Yeah.
it's so out of the ordinary. Like, it is hard to describe because, like, going into it, you know, you're expecting like horror. You're expecting a straight horror,
Yeah.
haunted house movie. And I mean, with the poster alone,
The VHS cover
yeah,
is the reason everyone rented this. It
y-
is if you pop that picture up, most people are going to be like either even if they haven't seen it, they've seen that picture, and it's
right,
the dismembered hand floating, ringing the doorbell, which is funny because it's not even in the movie.
No, no.
We get a dismembered hand, but it is not the picture we see on the cover. Kind of
Yeah,
happens again in House 2. It's also they just kept
and
going.
it's so bizarre because the way they decided to go with this as far as practical effects, it's how do you put it's a bit campy,
Oh,
obviously,
it's
and
almost Looney
it's
Tune.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
it is very bizarre with the way that some of the creature designs are really scary, and then there's a few that are just bonkers
Yeah.
that don't make any sense at all.
I was we'll talk about it more, but I will say right now, and almost kind of forgot that it was this particular movie. This has the most terrifying image in my brain from growing up, and it still sends chills up my spine. So I think that's a cool little teaser to leave the people with. So let's play the trailer real quick. Let's get that bad boy out of the way because, like I said, I knew this was going to be a movie that was going to be fun to talk about. So let's get the house trailer.
This is a house where no one should live. Roger Cobb has come here alone. But no one is ever alone in the house.
Leave while you can. No!
Sandy. Horror has found a new home. House. Enter at your own risk.
I love 80s trailers.
Right.
It's a trailer voice guy in the horror movie genre. The whole, don't watch this movie alone. Don't go into the house. I know I'm in for a treat. Also, that trailer does not set you up for what you're about to watch.
No, no.
Period. They make it out like it's a horror movie. They make it out like you're going to be scared shitless. You're going to sleep with the lights on, and it's anything but that.
Oh, yeah, and that's I think let's see here. It came out in '85, and I probably saw it maybe in '86. When I'm not sure what time it actually hit the DVD market. I mean the DVD. Come on,
Uh-huh.
VHS. Sorry,
VHS.
that's right. We're talking '80s. Um, I
We're
don't know
old. We're old
when.
men, James. It's okay. It's
Gosh,
okay.
I'm telling you. I don't know when it hit home video. If it's a year later or what, but I mean, I saw this on cable. I rented it, and so I'm probably looking at 12 years old, 13 years old.
Yeah, I'm thinking I was right around like 14 or 15 because that would be right
Yeah,
about the time me and my buddy Ben were hanging out, and we would sleep over. His dad or my dad would take us to go rent movies, and it was always like, here's your $5,
right.
make it count. And it would have been, so mine would have had to been, I think the sequel was the year after. So yeah, we would have rented these back to back because that's how they would have been right there on the shelf. It's like, oh, I want to watch this one, and I get to watch the sequel. Spoiler alert: the sequel has nothing to do with the first movie whatsoever, other than the poster.
Right.
That's it. That all they did was change it. Instead of ringing the doorbell, it has a key to the house. That's the only difference the hand is doing on the poster for the sequel.
Yeah, and it's been so long. I mean, I watched House 1 so many times, and I know I've watched House 2, but like now I'm intrigued. I need to go back and rewatch it now that I did watch,
Oh,
this one again. And it was so much fun. It brought back a lot of memories, and I had a really close buddy of mine that we watched this a ton of times together. And I mean, I remember, first off, he was very obsessed with the Vietnam War movies, Platoon and Full Metal
Yeah.
Jacket,
Yep.
and so you've got this movie that kind of, and we both like horror movies, and then you got this movie that comes out, and it's kind of this combination of horror, and then it's got this kind of wraparound story of his nightmares that are the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And so I can remember watching this with my buddy, and Big Ben was just that character, not to jump too far ahead, but the look of
That's
him
fine.
at the end
Oh,
was something that just stuck with me forever, because he was so cool. When you saw that, it didn't matter if it's a full rubber mask and suit.
no.
When he steps in, you're just like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I want that
And
suit.
and there's a fun thing about that, and I'll save it till we get to the end about that. Well, I'll say about Big Ben as a child of the 80s and 90s, so about the time I was watching this, I grew up watching Night Court.
Yes.
I knew who Richard Mole was.
Right.
It was Bull, and he was the gentle giant. He was all this stuff on the show, and then I watch him in House, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's not quite the badass when I'm watching it now,
Right.
but as a kid, I'm like, oh, I think a lot of the underlying thing of this movie as children, I don't think a lot of us caught it. This movie is 100% about PTSD.
Right.
They tried to touch on something because it was 1980, 1981 before it was even really recognized as an issue, mainly
Right.
from Vietnam vets. So then we started getting the movies like First Blood, and we got the Vietnam era movies, and this one tried to blend it into horror because I guess it was real horror, dealing with
Right.
war, dealing with all that. I do know that the original screenwriter, before, I can't think of his, Fred Decker took over, this movie was supposed to be dark as shit, like straight up horror movie.
Right.
It was, supposed to be everything that really what the trailer and the cover of the movie was supposed to invoke. That's what the movie was supposed to be. And they said as they got into the pre-production and the new writer came on, they were like, "Nah, we got to go different. We got to go lighter." Um, and I'll talk about one of my probably only issues really with this movie that now watching it. I'll preface that as watching it as 42 years old and understanding so much more about the movie. I hadn't watched this movie since the 90s. I'll admit, I don't think I had actually sat down and watched House since like 97.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, but I knew it. I almost knew this movie by heart. Jackie's
Right.
watching it with me, and she's like, she goes, I don't know if I've seen this, and I'm like, oh, I've seen it a lot. This is a favorite. This is everyone has to watch House. But we don't have Nate to do our 3 sentence synopsis. So I think what I can do is this one's fairly simple. We can just do a real kind of quick synopsis about the movie. Kind of, again, if you haven't watched this movie, watch it. We're going to spoil it as we talk about it. I think everyone listening to the show has probably watched House. I would almost make that bet in Vegas that at least 90% of our listeners have seen it. But anyway, we have William Katt, who I grew up knowing as the
Greatest American hero.
greatest American. I kept wanting to say great American hero, and I knew it was the greatest
Right.
American hero. He plays Roger Cobb, and he inherits his aunt's house that he grew up in as a child. We see in the movie she committed suicide. This movie's full of flashbacks. We also see that his son, they allude to him being kidnapped, but the aunt continually says the house is responsible for your son missing. Um, we also see Roger Cobb is a quite famous horror writer, and he writes books. He's doing a book signing. Everyone keeps asking him about his next book, and it is going to be about his time in Vietnam. He is a Vietnam War veteran, married to a movie star wife, but I'm stretching movie star. I think it was more soap opera.
I think so. Yeah.
They were trying to make it out on there. So obviously the loss of their son has strained their marriage. Then his aunt commits suicide. He gets the house, basically. It goes up for sale. He decides, you know what? I need to write my book. I need a quiet place to go do it. I'm going to go write it in the house. I'm not going to sell it. He stays in the house, and basically I'll leave it from there as we talk. But the house kind of becomes the character in the movie from that point on. So that's our quick kind of rundown. Writer who's a Vietnam vet trying to write a new book. Son's missing. The house is haunted, essentially. So
Right.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's got a great, a great little cast. I mean, in this, as far as being 85, I mean, you look at this cast, and it was kind of this. You've already said Night Court with
Yeah.
Richard Mole, and we knew that. And then you see George Wendt
Yep.
from
Cheers.
Cheers, and then you've got William Katt from Greatest American Hero.
Yep.
And you're seeing these characters, and I'm like, I mean, I know as a kid, I knew all three of them, and all of a
Oh yeah.
sudden they're in one horror movie together, and you're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then the kind of the weirdness of George Wendt's nosy neighbor character, and then seeing Richard Mole being Big Ben as kind of this mouthy, he's still a little goofy.
He is very goofy. He's supposed to be like this ultimate badass, and he still just, I think it's just Richard Mole. He just comes off goofy.
Yeah,
I love him to death. Don't get me wrong. I loved him in well, he did what was the other movie where he was a ghost, and he still just kind of came off as goofy. Oh, it was the Scary Movies.
Oh, the Scary Movies, yeah.
Yeah, he played like the guy that owned the house, and I think it was a whole scene with like Tori Spelling or one of the 90210 girls running around in there. But and now I'm watching it, and the same thing. I'm like, I remembered all those, but then I see people like Mindy Sterling,
right,
who was in the Austin Powers, and she's got like it's a blink and you miss it cameo.
Right.
His wife Tanya, Mary Staven, she's a Bond girl.
Right. I was shocked. I looked, I mean, watching it recently, I was like, I know I recognize her, but I don't know what from. So I had to pull her up and look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a Bond girl.
Yep. It's just, and that's the 80s, man. That was the 80s. And I'll only going to spoil one thing for you since you're going to go watch House 2. There's another Cheers actor in that one.
I do remember that. That's the one thing I do remember about House 2.
Yeah. Is House 1 and House 2. Both of it happens in a house, and they both get a cast member from Cheers. So that's, I guess, how they linked it all together.
Right.
But no, it's and talking about links, I really want to bring this up. So this movie was directed by Steve Miner, and a lot of people are like, oh, does that name sound familiar? He's the director that gave us the Jason we know today, the Jason with the mask. He did part 2 and part 3 of the Friday the 13th movies. And to carry that on a little bit more, there's even more Friday the 13th provenance, I guess we could call it. Kane Hodder was the stunt coordinator for this movie in-house. Also, and I got to look up the guy's name because I'll end up screwing it up. Stephen Williams, who plays one of the cops that come into the house when they're having coffee.
Right.
He is the bounty hunter that's hunting Jason in Jason Goes to Hell. He's the one that has the knife, and he's like trying to find all the lineage to the Voorhees family.
Right.
And I'm just like, holy crap, there's just a ton of like horror icons running around this movie in 1986, right? Like before anything was really taking off.
Right. And Steve Miner has done, I mean, he's got a killer career. I mean, the guy's done everything from horror, to comedy, to
he did
TV
television
shows. Yeah.
He
Wonder
did
Years. And I saw recently that he had working on, what is it? Did he do, there was like, well, I know he did some of the Eureka. And I was a big fan of Eureka, and then I know he did some Psych episodes. Maybe I believe I saw his name.
Most recent thing I saw that I knew he was doing is Enterprise, the one with Scott Bakula.
Right.
So he's involved with that. And I guess since we're on the thing, we'll do the whole budget thing that we usually try to see. Nate not being here has really got me off my game.
All right, I guess I should have done some homework. If I would have known Nate was going to be here, I could have done some work, If
we had all known Nate wasn't going to be here, we probably could have been better. It's okay. I'm not going to rail on him too hard. But no, the budget for this movie was only 3 million, which is a lot in 1986, but still, that's still not a lot of money. Not with the
No.
cast you had, not with what they did with the practical effects. But it did gross worldwide just a hair under 20 million. That's a success. For a horror movie in the 80s, that's a big
Yeah.
success in my book. I mean, like I said, I think the sequel came like a year later. So that tells you how much faith they had in everything to continue going.
It makes
Um,
you wonder about, having the cast that it had, if that was what brought people in, or if it was the fact that it was something completely kind of bizarre, word of mouth. I mean, because it said like the first go around, um, I mean, its opening weekend, it made 5 million, almost $6 million opening weekend.
I'm really thinking that probably had a lot to do with the lead, which is William Katt. Everybody knew. I mean, he's also. I mean, we're talking about horror provenance. This is also the guy from Carrie. This
Right.
was Carrie's prom date, and that was a popular movie back in the 80s, late 70s. Was it 80s that Carrie came out, or was that like late 70s? I can't
Yeah,
remember right off
it's.
the
I
top
mean,
of my head.
it's like it's late 70s, like 76.
Yeah, I know it's
But
in that
yeah,
same time frame, but I really think it was the fact that he's doing it, and again, this is a totally different time frame than what we're used to now. We get horror movie after horror movie after horror movie. People were clamoring for the next thing, the next Friday the 13th, the next Halloween movie. They wanted the slasher movies. They didn't really get that in this one,
no,
but something kept them coming though to make this amount of money. I mean, we're talking about how the movie was. It's not a slasher. It's not even a gore fest. There's
no.
barely any blood in this movie. I mean, I feel bad for my raining bloods because it's barely anything there. You know, there's dead people in this, obviously, but
Right, right.
uh, the demons get decapitated. There's not even goo. I was
No.
like, there was no budget for slime, James. Come on, man.
Yeah, they need to spend a little bit more of that 3 million on some blood and guts
You
for us.
know how important that is to the budget for these horror movies, man. You gotta have some slime, some blood. But I also go, I almost think that still just adds to the charm of the movie. It still just adds to this like nostalgia I have of a kid that it didn't terrify me except one thing. And yeah, I'm gonna keep teasing that till we actually talk about it. But it it's still like burned in your brain. The creature designs on this movie are phenomenal. I mean, from the closet demon to
Yes.
how Big Ben looked at the end to what I call the Henrietta knockoff, which is Tanya in the movie. Um, God, those guys were talented. That
Yeah.
closet demon is
The closet
insane
demon.
looking.
Yeah, it is. It is something else.
And if you watch this, you haven't watched it for a while, pause it. Pause it when it pops out. As a kid, I had no idea that thing had like multiple faces, had like multiple body parts coming off of it. I had no clue. Now I get to watch it I watch it on Amazon Prime because
Yep.
it's on there now. If you have Prime, you can watch it. Not cost anything other than your Prime membership. But it's beautiful. It's super clear. I love the transfer. It still kind of hurts when I watch my old movies though in high def. It takes some of the mystery away.
A little bit. Yeah, I can see that totally.
The flying garden tools don't quite hold up as well as I
No.
remember.
That was
Uh
funny because I mean that was the one thing I was looking when I was watching. I was like, that scene was coming up, and I started chuckling to myself because I remember it's so Looney Tunes when he
yeah.
runs out the door and it's like thump 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 thump. They
It,
all come, and
it,
then later on they knock on the door. They knock on the
yeah.
door.
They're like waiting. They're like hanging out. And there's one thing in this movie that I think everyone remembers, and it is still one of my favorite gags, is the swordfish. The
Yeah.
swordfish coming to life. I mean, as soon as those stupid Billy Bass singing things came out and they were like this huge craze, I'm like, I want one as a swordfish. I just want it to come back to life, just like in House, because that's immediately what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it's the second one where everything comes to life, but
Right,
this one, it's the fish, man. I'm like, I love it, and to still watching it, it's one of my favorite gags in the movie
Oh,
is when
well,
that fish comes to life.
that little eyeball starts to slowly turn to
Yes!
watch him when he's walking away.
And it
Cracking
looked
me up.
that's the one thing that actually looked gooey. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure it was just because they lubed it so it would move
Yeah.
freely, but it still looked wet, and I was like, "This is great stuff." And yeah, everybody, we're gonna gush about this movie. That's why I picked this. I'm tired of being drugged through the muck of movies, and I wanted a movie that I could giggle and just be excited about to talk about.
You know,
Um,
I talking about that, yeah, and kind of jumping back to William Katt. You know, not that he hasn't had a successful career, because he
yeah,
has, but watching this and seeing him, not only he being funny as well as action,
yes,
and I mean, you were just waiting, and he was physically fit. I'm looking at him going, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't get a little more into the mainstream. Maybe it's by choice, who knows. I
and
don't know
all
much about his career, but
I don't either, unfortunately.
he's a great actor.
I 100% agree. And you're bringing up points that I was talking about watching it last night with my wife because it's so hilarious. There's a point where he comes out of the house with the deepest V-cut sweater I've ever seen in my entire life. It's almost V-cut to his belly button. And I'm like, "Ooh, where do I get that?" Jackie's like, "You don't have the body for that. I love you, honey, but no." I was like, "Oh, well." I also don't have the curly hair that he has to pull that stuff off. I'm bald.
Right.
But but no, but you're talking about I think that was another thing about this movie. I forgot how much action is in this movie. I
Yeah.
mean, the Vietnam stuff, the things he does later. So I guess this is probably one of the better points to bring up. Maybe my only real negative about this movie.
Okay.
So, and I figure I just want to get it out of the way because it has no effect as me as far as what I love about this movie. But where they have him as a Vietnam vet, he's decided that his next book is not going to be a horror book. It's going to be about his time in Vietnam, which if you're thinking about it, that should be more horrifying than any written horror movie, anything to ever experience.
Right.
And so they're even kind of like showing like the fans are disappointed when he says that. I
Right.
picked up on that pretty quick. And then they try to break into these moments where he does the flat. There's a lot of flashbacks in this movie. I actually forgot there were so many flashbacks. But he'll go into the Vietnam flashbacks and it's trying to show how much stress it's putting on him. How he's like always sweating, he's like high anxiety, high thing. And I swear to God, every time they did that and they're trying to elicit like an emotion from us, they do something funny right after. Like it was like, okay, here's a little bit of this. No, remember, this is a funny movie. Don't worry about all that stuff that you're supposed to be feeling for this guy. Now let's do, because there's a point where he's setting up all the cameras to catch the ghost,
Right.
and he's in full fatigues. He's setting up all the cameras. He's doing a run through, and I swear it's him. There's no way there was a double the way they filmed it because it's almost like two takes. He leaps down the one set of stairs,
Yeah.
rolls down the other step, then jumps out the front door and does another roll like right in front of George Wendt. And he's like out of breath and he has the goggles and everything on, and he looks at George Wendt and he's like, "Hi." And I'm just like, yep, there's the comedy. I have a hard time believing this guy was a nom and is dealing with the amount of stress that I'm supposed to believe he's dealing with. And they do the same thing with when the neighbor's kid goes missing. He's in
Right.
this like deep dream and he's like stressed, he's sweating when he wakes up, and then it turns into the most insane Looney Tunes scene I've ever seen in a horror movie from that point. But that's my only negative. And it's the only thing where I'm like, in an alternate universe, I kind of want to see the darker version of this movie
Yeah, I was
because
thinking that too.
I think there was something that the original writer was onto of a Vietnam veteran writing about his time in a horror setting in a haunted house that I think would have actually been terrifying. I really, really would have loved to have seen that movie.
Yeah, because you think about, kind of like you said, here's this guy who's, I mean, suffered more than you and I could ever imagine.
Oh yeah.
Okay, being in the, in Vietnam, and you think there's that party that goes, oh wow, they're kind of poking fun at this guy for having PTSD.
Yeah.
So thinking it that way, that's why you got to keep your I got to keep my step back so I can just enjoy it for what it is.
Well,
Because that kind of stuff gets in the way if we start overthinking stuff. But
oh,
but yeah,
100%.
I did think about that when I was watching it currently.
Well, see,
You know,
I'm watching it going as a kid, all that went over my head.
right.
100%. It was some dudes playing G.I. Joe and then monsters, and it's the greatest thing ever. As a 42-year-old man watching this who loves action movies and loves Rambo and stuff like that, I'm watching this going, damn, they tried, and if there is a failure in this movie, it's only that. It's only
Right.
the fact that they gave me a glimpse of something I thought could have been truly terrifying. And then they went, no, we don't want. And I think that's what scared them off. I really think it was rewritten because they realized how dark it was going to be. And I think it actually scared them off of doing it.
Right.
And it sucks
Yeah.
because I really want that movie now. James, we know people.
I'll see what I can do about that.
See what you can do. Pull some strings. You know people way up.
Right.
Just tell Brian that has something to do with H.P. Lovecraft.
Well, it's funny watching it this go around. The sequence with the mirror in the bathroom.
Yes.
The first thing I thought of was it felt like, now that I've been a little more, I'm a little more knowledgeable about H.P. Lovecraft, thanks to WitchHouse, and whatnot, and I'm watching From Beyond, because of the show.
Yes. You're
And
welcome. I told you it was good.
Yes. But watching that sequence in the bathroom, all I can think about is that is otherworldly. That is kind of Lovecraftian, if you will, because the tentacles come through, and then once he gets in there, it's a void. It's a black nothingness. And to me, that's scary.
That is probably one of the most terrifying scenes in the movie. And I got that when that one tentacle jumps out and grabs his arm, that felt so much like movies like The Void. And, like you said, From Beyond, it has all that like creatures coming from someplace we can't perceive and are reaching out to you. I totally got those vibes in this movie. And like I said, this movie just dances on some horror greatness, which I think adds to the charm of the movie. But as like, I guess we could call ourselves seasoned horror movie fans, we also go, oh, you could have done so much more. When the aunt hangs herself in the ghost scene, we see her hanging, which I thought was probably the most twisted thing they could do to that poor grocery delivery boy.
I do love that he actually says, "Ma'am, it's grocery delivery boy."
I'm sitting there going, that is right. We had Uber Eats before it was a thing. You could get your groceries delivered by the local grocer. The bag boy would usually run it on his way home. And they make that kid walk in and see this lady just hanging from the light fixture. I was like, that's messed up. That kid's gone. He's gone. But no, the whole scene where he like sees her again and she's talking to him and she just steps right up, puts the noose on, drops and fades away. I'm still like watching that scene going, that is truly terrifying. That would really mess you up. And then he goes and brushes his teeth and goes to bed. He kept doing that. It's like, this house is messing with you. And he's just like, oh, nope, time to go brush my teeth. And I am so warped by horror movies that because I hadn't watched this since the 90s, I swore he like transforms in the mirror. but I know I'm
I
remembering Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, yeah,
But I'm like, I swore, but the mirror comes back, and that's why they're
right.
foreshadowing it so much. But in my warped brain, I'm waiting for him to turn into a zombie. You know,
Something, yeah.
yeah, they did. Treat Williams did it in Dead Heat.
Yep.
You know, when he turns into that. So I'm warped. I know what I want now, and I got to remember this was 1986. They're still writing the book. This is now a chapter in classic horror, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
You know, it is so good, so good. But let's see. So we've done the synopsis on it. We've talked quite a bit on. Let's do what our favorite parts of the movie was. Unless you got something you want to mention before we jump ahead too far.
Well, all I was going to say, we were talking about the H.P. Lovecraft. I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting that when I was doing some research on this before the show, the cinematographer, his name was Mac Alberg.
Mm-hmm.
He was the cinematographer for Reanimator and From Beyond.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he did quite a bit. I mean, he also did Beverly Hills Cop 3, Striking Distance.
All good movie. I don't care what anyone says. Beverly Hills Cop 3 has its charm. It's not a
Right.
good movie, but it's watchable.
Right. He was the director of photography on Deep Star 6.
I love that movie, and we will be doing that on the show. I guarantee. That
And
was
you'll like this too,
yeah.
Ghoulies.
Oh, I love Ghoulies. I think I gotta save that one for Sludge, but I'm gonna do Deep Star 6 because that is the very first R-rated monster movie my dad let me watch. And I love that. And there's a funny story, and I'm saving it for that episode
Excellent.
of what he did to me in that movie, and I will never forget it. But
I will tune in.
yeah, absolutely. You might be on it. We'll just see how the schedule rotates. But no, you were talking about let's talk a little bit about the cinematography because that was one of the things being a cinematographer yourself. Of what did you think about how this movie was shot? It's kind of a one set type movie that it's mostly in the house, but yet it goes
Right.
everywhere. You know, it
Right.
goes into
Yeah.
Vietnam, it goes all this other place. What was your thoughts on that? Being that's
No,
pretty much your trade.
I can, well, yeah, I mean, but I can't, put myself in the same boat as these guys who do this type of cinematography, for a living. But it is funny because I was watching it thinking some of the shots I loved how they were set up. I mean, especially some of the intense scenes where they would like push in real tight on William Katt,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of see that struggle in his face, and um, I thought that, let's face it, this is kind of a bare bones movie because like there's not a whole lot of fancy lighting
No.
except for the absence of lighting. They do that quite a bit.
Yes.
Um, so there wasn't like a lot of stand out something that stood out to me as far as um, specific cinematography, but I thought it looked great. I love the way it was shot because I look at these movies that came out in the 80s, and there's it's it's before the MTV generation where the camera's constantly flying all over the place and
Yes.
stuff like that. So they held on the shots a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I thought I, I I liked it. I thought it was uh, um, well done.
Well, and you were talking about, and I was noticing that watching this movie where you were talking about how it seems so similar to movies like From Beyond, and because there's actually like that movie particular where it had a similar set of stairs in the house when he's doing that whole run and jump down the steps
Right.
looks just like when the guy runs down the stairs and out of the house at the beginning of From Beyond's Jeffrey Combs,
Oh, right.
and he takes off running and goes out. There's also when the weird flying thing in From Beyond attacks them at the end towards the end of the movie from the top of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
I swear it looks almost like the thing that's flying around in the void when William Katt's hanging by the rope, only we get to see it more close up. You know, it kind of
Right.
has that feel of this thing flying at your face and just missing you. It also leads into probably the one of the most hysterical scenes in the movie, and I still laugh my ass off every time it happens. is when the demon steals his shotgun, then it cuts away from the shot of him to the darkness, and the demon comes flying in and does like a Western rifle flip
Right.
and shoots the rope. To this
Yeah.
day, I laugh every time because you're just not expecting it. It's one of those holy shit they did that moments. That thing is a gunslinger from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and shoots the rope and
Right.
Cat falls. Love it. Love
Yeah,
that scene.
it's hilarious because when I was talking to my brother, that's the scene that he brought up. He was like, "Oh, you got to talk about the big bat with the skull face in the void." And I'm like, "Yes." And it's cool looking too.
I love it's so
The design is great.
Okay. I know I teased it enough. I think we're at a good point we can talk about because we talked about the closet monster, which
Right.
is terrifying looking. Richard Mall, who plays Big Ben, and I was going to tell you that is not a rubber suit.
Oh, is that makeup? Full on makeup?
That's a puppet. That was full on puppet. It took 15 puppeteers to do that one. So it's not Richard Mall in a mask. It's not anyone in a mask. That was total puppetry. And I
Well,
love
now
every
now
second
I
of it.
did hear I did hear for the close-ups. It's actually
That might be like there is some shots
yeah,
directly of the face.
because you can see his eye
Yeah.
behind the mask, and you can actually see where it connects, where
It,
they've actually got it around his lips. So whatever they were doing the close up of him talking,
his mouth's
yeah,
not moving correctly. I
right,
did see that,
yeah,
but the part where he's like coming down the steps and then the part where they shove the grenade in his abdomen,
yeah.
all puppet.
I did not know that.
They
That's
had
amazing.
a full Big Ben running around. Okay. No, the one thing in this movie that has terrified me since I was a kid, I still had images of this and forgot it was this movie, was when he's babysitting the little boy, which is the most ridiculous thing that would never happen
Right.
in the history of happening anywhere. I don't care if it's the 80s. My wife is yelling at the television going, that is the dumbest thing ever someone could do. And that's the neighbor drops off her like 4-year-old son
To a stranger.
to a stranger who just moved in next door to babysit him and give him a bath, give him all this. I'm like, no. I thought it was weird that his excuse for why he was chasing the kid around the house in the bathroom. I'm like, that sounds weird. It should have sounded weird back then, but I'll let it slide. Not let's give the kid a bath. Anyway, the scene where he has the flashback and the kid was supposed to be asleep on the couch and he's missing and he's chasing him through the house and you see these little glimpses of something running down there. He gets upstairs to the hallway and you see its face and it's supposed to be these ghoul kids. The face on those things terrify me to no end. There is something otherworldly that struck a nerve in Charlie's brain that I hate those little bastards in this movie. And then they drag him up the chimney
Chimney.
and you get the shot from William Katt's perspective and both of them side, the girl and the boy side by side, and I hate it. If you've ever watched the Garbage Pail Kids movie,
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say.
yes,
To me, I saw it and I'm like, this is the Garbage Pail Kids before there were Garbage Pail Kids.
yes, but hellishly weirder than, and that's hard to say.
Right.
When I'm
right.
telling you how weird these freaking things are in this movie, understand that it's worse than the Garbage Pail Kid movie, which is also terrifying for a PG movie. That movie, as much as I love it, I don't know who greenlit that movie. I don't know how much cocaine was going around that writing room or on set when they made Garbage Pail Kids. But it's all I could think of. But these two kids, and what happened was I told Nate, hey, I want to pick the movie. I just saw on Amazon, I was scrolling through and I saw House. Let's do House. I love this movie. And he's like, awesome, let's do it. That's awesome. I'll be there. No problem. Count on me. Thanks, Nate. So, I know, I got to do it. And then I was like, okay, well, yeah, we got James coming on. This would be perfect. It's practical effects. We got all this other stuff. So I went on IMDb. I always try to look up some stuff and it has all the images. You could go through and look. And I was like, oh, I want to remember some stuff. And I went, holy shit. It's this movie. I hate these little things. I said it right before the scene come on. I looked at Jackie and went, brace yourself. I hate this part. She's like, what? And she looks and she goes, oh, they're creepy looking. And I was like, this is more than creepy looking. That's nightmare fuel for Charlie. If you come up behind me in one of those costumes, I'm not responsible for what happens. I don't like clowns and I don't like the kids from House. Period. That's where
I'm right there with you.
I stamp it. Done. I can throw me in the closet with the closet monster. I'll totally be fine. I don't care. You put those little bastards anywhere near me, and I'm losing my mind. That's all there is to it. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Oh. All right, man. I think it's a good time. Let's go ahead and let's hit a commercial break real quick, and then we can kind of get into maybe some of our favorite scenes, since I told everyone what the scene I hated the most, and then we'll start, wrapping it up a little bit. I think we're doing good here, so let's get some commercials. We'll be right back.
On.
Hey, this is the one-man gold mine, the one-man enterprise of professional wrestling and all entertainment, Flynn Hendricks. And you better believe when I'm looking for a good podcast to listen to, I go to my own. I go to the I Know You Hear Me podcast hosted by me, Flynn Hendricks.
That is such a fresh perspective for how you should look at life, too. I love that.
And then when I'm feeling spooky, I go to my other podcast, Tales from the Haunt, where myself...
I want my head shoved inside a 15-pound silicone mask more. I want to have a bucket of sweat coming off me at the end of the night.
Than just Jeff.
Dogs don't lay eggs, Flynn.
I hate you so much.
Talk to other scare actors about what it takes to get into the world of scare acting. So if you're curious about how people became professional wrestlers, actors, prioritized their mental health, became entrepreneurs, avoided burnout, or got into scare acting, you need to go check out I Know You Hear Me and Tales from the Haunt, available on all podcasting platforms. And I know you hear me.
Welcome to the Monster Movie Stomp Down with me, Stompy, and my brother Frank.
Hi, I'm Frank.
Join us, Sludge, Mark, and Ruben 3 times a month as we review monster movies from around the world.
And don't forget about the monthly contest and trivia.
Not only that, Frank, but you will find extra content like the Underdogs, Monster Mash Wednesdays, and the Friday Night Fights, each week exclusively on our Facebook and Instagram.
So please join us at the Monster Movie Stomp Down.
Your one-stop chomp for monster movie reviews, news, interview, trivia, laughs, and of course me, Stompy.
And Frank. Still got some fresh commercials there, so everyone's not tired of hearing the same old commercial we play over and over again. No, so jumping back into House, before we talk about probably some of our favorite stuff, I think it bears mentioning that the set design and the set dressers really went above and beyond in this movie. It felt like an old house that it had everything that you would expect to be in it, but then they would just sprinkle in, like, they kept calling them the ants paintings.
Yeah.
And there's paintings of, it's like little foreshadows of things that are going to happen in the movie, but she put a naked chick in all of them, which I thought was hilarious. There was the garden tools flying on one, and there's a naked girl painted right there. And that's it. Here's the reason it stuck with me. I'm sorry, honey. Was when you turn on Amazon, it puts those little things at the top where it says frightening images, language, and then it said like sexuality. And I'm like, where would
Right.
anything? I know the neighbor when she's in the pool is in, a one piece, and
Right.
they hover for a while camera wise. But I'm also like, that's nothing. We saw that on television. We saw that on Miami Vice. It was, I realized there was like painted naked women in some of the paintings in the house, and people would keep stopping at them and go, that's an interesting painting.
Right.
That's
Everybody, every character that came into the house had something to say. So your
everyone.
aunt was an artist, huh?
I loved it. And I also loved the whole George Wendt. It's in the trailer, but George Wendt putting his foot in his mouth when he
Oh,
first
yes.
meets Rob, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you bought the house? Yeah, I'm moving in here." And he goes, "Man, the last lady that lived here was a bitch. I hated her. She was hell on wheels. All this stuff just." And William Katt's just like, "Yeah, keep going, dig that hole a little bit more. Yeah, she was my aunt. Oh, greatest lady ever. She was fantastic. Loved her to
Heart of
death.
gold.
Heart of gold. You want to come over for dinner while you and your family?" I was just the writing on that was spectacular. The way they worked back and forth off each other, that was good comedy writing right there. But
There was that is, that I think it's funny because there's a couple of the scenes as far as, favorites go, and it happens to be some of the comedy writing. You know, the I remember as a kid laughing at the scene with um uh Big Ben, and he's got the M60 and he's like just blowing holes through the house,
mhm,
and he runs out of ammo and he's like, "I'm back from the dead and I run out of ammo."
I love that.
And he throws the gun down, and I mean, I love that line, and I do. Speaking of the neighbor in the pool, I love watching her. I mean, I love watching. No, no, I love that scene when she walks up and he's got the trash bag full of stuff, and the whole time they're having a conversation, he's kicking the hand and trying to push it back into the bag, and
Yeah.
then he's beating it with the shovel when she's not looking, and it's so goofy and cartoony, and he pulls it off, and I love those kind of the goofiness about it.
And that I think that's kind of the thing about, like, I wish I either knew more about what he did, or if he didn't do more, his ability to sell that to me, like, he's like profusely sweating, he's trying to keep their attention on him while he's like stomping this hand that's grabbing his ankle. And it's the most audacious circumstance. He is carrying obviously this gigantic bag of the demon Tanya, which we'll talk about that in a second, because it's still, watching it again, I'm like, I almost forget that none of that's real, basically, till the end of the
Right.
movie. But and he drops it and she goes, "Oh, planting a sapling?" And I'm like, "Oh, what freaking sapling on the planet Earth was ever that big?" And I know that's the joke. And to the point where he realizes, he goes, "I can't dig a hole big enough for this. I'm going to cut the body up into
Right.
pieces and bury it in a ton, like 20 little mounds in the yard of dirt, not put the grass back. It's, yep, this is good. I'm proud of what I just did. No
Right.
one's going to suspect anything."
Nobody expects anything.
Yeah, that's the insanity of this movie. That's
Well,
the
that makes you think, like, and on another level now, you wonder just how much was actually in his head, because
yes.
he doesn't find her body,
No.
and then the one time he opens the closet door, nothing's there, but
Yeah. So
then
yeah,
it materializes when um
George
George
Wendt,
Wendt's
the
character is
neighbor.
there,
Yeah.
but he doesn't really panic as much as I thought he would either.
Yeah, so there's two very good things that you brought up right there. So we're led to believe that the neighbor calls uh, the ex-wife because he's worried about William Katt's character, and it's Roger Cobb. I don't know why I don't keep saying Roger Cobb.
Right.
What, that baseball player's name or something like that? I want to say.
Probably.
But anyway, so we get this scene that she shows up right at the front door, and he thinks he's being attacked by a demon she morphs into, and he shoots the demon because he was carrying the shotgun, because it's right after the swordfish incident that I love. And the camera cuts away from the demon going flying back to him, and then back down, and it's his wife, it's his ex-wife, laying there with a gunshot wound in her stomach. And my wife goes, "There'd be a hole for her. Where's all the blood?" where's all this? Because he just picks her up. There's no blood on the porch. He stuffs her in the closet. That's when we get the cops come in, and they're looking around, and it's like there's nothing really there. The door keeps opening to the closet, so it's very comedic. Every time
Yes.
the cops would come near it, the door with the dead body would open, and he'd like distract them. We also get them going, that's an interesting painting, and it was another
Yes.
naked lady one. And he goes back and the body's not there. But then he hears the noise upstairs, and the Tanya demon, which is grotesque. I swear
Yeah.
it looks like the Henrietta from the Evil Dead movies. It really there's that whole kind of like feel to it. Honestly, if you told me Sam Raimi was involved in this movie, I'd believe you. That's kind of how it felt. The creature designs kind of work with that. And he fights the demon, then he buries it outside. Spoiler alert, later on in the movie the ex-wife shows up. So what was in his head?
Right. What was real and what
what
wasn't?
was
Was
real,
the
what was
demon
not?
actually real?
Yeah.
Because later on, he sees the dog with the severed hand.
Yeah.
And he chases the dog. It ends up on the kid's back. He flushes it down the toilet. But you don't know. Was that all in his head?
Yeah. No one, like, the hand is on the back of the little kid when the neighbor brings him over, and it is the hugest, rubberiest hand.
Rubbery looking hand.
It was almost as big as the kid. Like, it's covering his entire back. And it's like, there's no way no one didn't notice that. And so but you're right. I was actually thinking that. I'm like, can everyone see it? But then we get the scene with George Wendt where he's like, there's a raccoon in the closet. There's a raccoon. It's big.
Right.
It's the size of a Saint Bernard. Oh, the Cujo of raccoons. I was like, again, the comedy writing and timing between these two, gold. I loved them together. And so he's got the spear gun. He's got to shoot what he's telling him is the raccoon, but we all know it's the closet monster. We're all expecting him to open the door, and there's nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Like he even goes, don't shoot me. That you're like, okay, this is going to be funny. The demon comes running out of the closet. George Wendt doesn't know what to do. And this is the part where William Katt gets sucked into the other dimension.
Right.
And he's in Vietnam. What's weird though is George Wendt just witnessed a demon come flying out of a closet. His new friend gets sucked into a closet with nothing there. So his plan was go get some alcohol and some whiskey and go to sleep in the same room and wait for something else to happen.
Right.
I didn't know. I was like, who is still staying in this house? Roger Cobb, William Katt is sleeping in his kid's old bedroom that is still set up. Okay. Did you understand the timeline of this movie?
No, I mean it took me quite a bit to figure out. Like there was like this strange, because you find out about the aunt, and then he's back at the house, but he's already divorced or separated, and then you find out that he lost his son, but they don't say how long ago.
Right.
And it just kind of keeps bouncing back and forth. But then at one point he says, "Oh, well, I was raised in this house."
Yeah,
but they never even. But that's a throwaway line. They
the-
never even go anything else past that.
The only thing I can equate to where he goes, "I was raised here," is the one scene of the kid playing trucks in front of the white cross in the ground, and the arm jump up out of there.
Yeah,
but it didn't make any sense. It didn't
Right.
track. It wasn't his son. We were supposed to believe it was William Katt, is what I took it as. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, the house has been haunted for a long time. But no, like, I swear this stuff's only been like a week or two. But
Right.
that also means, because they weren't divorced when they were living in the house together, because she comes out of the front door when the kid goes missing. They're like, was he
Right.
with you? No, and he jumps in the pool. He sees the kid go down, and the kid's not there anymore, which is relevant to the end of the movie. And so I'm like, this couldn't have been like months. This was weeks. And then they kept making it like Vietnam was only like a year or two ago. You know, it was just
Yeah, it was very
weird.
strange because he also is completely fine when he's at the book signing.
Yeah.
Not like he just lost his son, but then when they're walking down the street, he's like, "You got to get past this hump. You gotta move on." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Does he have to move on from a year ago, or is it
Right.
just from a week ago?"
Has this been like the wife is at an award show? The ex-wife.
It's
The ex-wife is there. I'm like,
it's a good thing we like this movie.
oh, we're trying to make sense of something that truly I don't think they ever thought anyone was going to be talking about in a podcast, you know, almost 40 years later. You
Right.
know, I hate saying that, but it's
Yeah.
true. But no, but as I'm watching it now and I'm like, I know everything's getting ready to happen, but now I'm like, okay, I want to see the storytelling. I want to see what your process was going forward. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think Egan, you guys knew what you were doing. You know, as far as it was almost like the movie was shot in order, which you're not supposed to do most times. But it felt like they just started at the beginning and started shooting, and they would change something later that didn't make sense back before. And they were like, well, we're not refilming that. We only have X amount of dollars and X amount of time. They're not going to worry about it. We'll throw another monster at them and they'll be fine. But yeah, so that's us. That's probably the deepest we'll dig
Right.
into the lore of House. But let's talk about our favorite scenes in the movie. Let's talk about what jumps out. And I know we've kind of done that as we've gone, but is there a scene to you that the movie wouldn't be the same without it ever? You know,
Gosh.
I know it's a tough question. I asked the
Yeah.
tough questions here.
Yeah, you do. These are tough questions. I you know, I just the ending with Big Ben. That's one thing that I would remember about as a kid is just that whole sequence with him chasing him through the house. Here's a zombie with a machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that was pretty new to me.
Oh,
so there was that, you know, as a kid watching this, it's freaking awesome because not only does he look cool and not only is he Bull from Night Court,
yep.
now he's got an M60 and he's blowing away the greatest American hero. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
like that whole scene coming together at the end. I mean, and like I said, I love that scene where he's like, I'll go back from the dead and I run out of ammo and he
Run
throws
out of
his gun
ammo.
down.
I
Yeah.
think you had plenty of time to plan. It was, but I'm with you. I'm watching it again going, I totally forgot that he jumps out onto the roof and there's a
Right.
whole scene. And then the movie goes back into silly mode where he's running across the roof. He's getting away from him. He comes and crawls back through another window. He's still upstairs and he just kind of starts walking down the hallway as if it's not like there's a zombie army dude chasing you with a machine gun, because it's like, oh no, I forgot he was here.
Right.
And he takes off running again. And I was like, you're being chased by something. I would have hit that window, through that bedroom, and I'd have jumped down the stairs like I showed I could do earlier in the movie. Because
There'd be a trail of fire behind me.
Boom, gone. I would have, I wouldn't have touched a step. I'd been landing downstairs, out the door. No, but and it's such a well done ending. And the only real thing about it is we do find out that Bull's character, Big Ben, was shot in Vietnam and was dying. He told Roger to kill him. Roger couldn't do it. He decided to go try and get help, and he gets taken by the Vietnamese. Sorry, got taken by Vietnam. Okay, I word good tonight. And he, as a ghost / demon, has set this elaborate plan. He kidnapped the kid. He convinced the aunt to kill herself. He was tortured for weeks, he tells Roger, at the hands of the Vietnamese. And this was an elaborate plan for Roger to get his comeuppance, for him to kill Roger.
Right.
And as a kid, over top of my head, 100%. You know,
Right.
okay, guy, kidnap kid, understand, and we fight big zombie. I'm sold. I'm in. I'm loving it. As me now going, that's a really convoluted way to get around stuff, but why was that monster hand coming up in a flashback that was way before he ever went to Vietnam?
Right. Right.
You know, they only kind of explain where the uncle went, some kind of fishing accident. And why kill the aunt? Why have them
Well,
living in the house?
right. And he even says, well, my aunt, she's always believed this house is
Always.
haunted.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice to have had some kind of, joining of, Big Ben with whatever the spirit that was actually in the house or something.
I think that you nailed it right there. I think let the house have been like a portal. I don't know anyone
Yes.
that would understand houses with portals to, demon regions or anything. We'll have to find an expert about that somewhere. Go watch WitchHouse once it comes out. But this is worse than the Pepsi product placement things.
That's right.
But no, make it where like Big Ben's spirit joined with the house's spirit and manifested itself, because even the aunt has a line where she goes, "The house tricked me.
Yes.
I've resisted it this long, and it finally, and it tricked her to hang herself." What?
Yeah.
I thought, okay, trick me by opening a door I swore I would never do, or never go in the attic or
Right.
something. Never open up the garage and to the gardening tools. Not, oh, it tricked me into hanging myself from a light fixture because I only weigh like $110. That light fixture would not have supported anyone
No.
hanging from it. But that's
Yeah,
where
that's like I said, it's a good thing we like the movie because
Yeah.
the script is got its plot holes, but it's just so much fun and it's nostalgia. That's what it is. I mean,
this is nostalgia drug heavy. If you were our age watching this growing up, nothing's better than House. I can watch. There's always a place for Nightmare on Elm Street. There's always a place for Friday the 13th. Our classic slashers will always be there. But if I'm going to tell you like my top 10 horror movies, House is up there.
oh yeah,
House and House 2. And guess what? House 2 is PG-13, and I still count it way up there as far as horror movies. I've seen House 2 more than House 1, and I've
Oh.
seen this movie a lot. When you watch it again, James, I guarantee you'll be like, "Oh, I get it."
Yeah.
It is more in line with a child's mind and what we thought of as funny, like Saturday morning cartoons, but still
Right.
trying to be like scary, like Goosebumps, or
Right.
those scary stories to tell in the dark.
Right.
Like I'd let my 12-year-old daughter watch House 2. We let her watch Child's Play last year. She was infatuated with Chucky,
Yeah.
and she wanted to do it for Halloween, all this other stuff. So we let her watch it, and I was like, okay, it's fine. And I'm rewatching this going, the only reason this movie is R is because they drop a ton of cuss words in it. They drop the F-bomb constantly. There's references. Number 2, let your kids watch it. If you want to introduce your kid to a horror movie, House 2, it's the second story. Love it. House 3 is not House 3. It's called The Horror Show. It has nothing to do with. Okay, House 2 has nothing to do with House 1, except it happens in a house and we get a Cheers character. House 3, they went darker, almost like an anthology kind of thing, where it's Lance Hendrickson being chased by James Byron. And it's almost like if you've ever seen Shocker, or there's another one that it's similar to, where a killer dies but comes back as a ghost and hunts the guy down. Then House 4 brings William Katt and his family back.
Really?
Yeah. And I won't spoil anything for that one. It's not great, but it's a House movie. I feel like everyone should watch the House movies.
Right. That's one I didn't even know existed.
Well, growing up, I had House 1, House 2, and it was like mid-90s, House 4 was out. And me and my buddy Ben and anyone we talked to were like, where's House 3? there's no House 3? Why does it jump? Because in the United States, they released House 3 as the horror show. Overseas, it was House 3. So you would hear murmurs that, oh, it was only released over here. The same movie, different title, and different cover. It didn't have the hand. It didn't have anything. It was a totally different. They didn't want it associated with the House movies for some reason. I don't know if they wanted, because of how campy these went, and they wanted to go more slasher movie. They didn't want that, like someone like us probably watching it going, the crap am I watching? This doesn't make any sense. This isn't a House movie. Right. Anyway, I went way off the rails on that. But, there's a little bit of history for the House. I don't know we'll ever cover 3 or 4. We're going to cover 2. It's a disservice if I don't ever bring. I honestly should have done this as a double feature, but we really would have needed Nate to get that extra little level of digging into it. But
absolutely,
I think we're doing pretty good for one House movie, for one story. It's going good. So the Big Ben was your favorite.
Yeah. What about you? What about you?
Oh, I'm kind of like you, where I'm sitting here going, man, we've talked about like like my favorite now, and it's funny, has nothing to do with the movie itself, but the kid playing with He-Man figures. As a 42-year-old man, I'm yelling, he's got Buzz Off.
Yes.
Holy crap, he's got Battle Armor Skeletor. He gets ready to tuck him in, and he's carrying a superpower Superman. And I'm rattling the toys off. My wife's like shaking her head, looking at me. I mean, we all know Charlie's surrounded by toys. But as of now, my favorite scene is watching the kid play with vintage action figures. But no, I think my favorite scene in the movie is probably when he does set up the cameras to try and capture the demon. Mm-hmm. And he has everything elaborately set up. He has everything ready to go. And he does the jump down the stairs, which still to this day, I adore. That whole stunt sequence is amazing.
Right.
And I swear it's him. It looks, the camera kind of like follows him jump down, and it's his face. So I'm saying he did his own stunts mostly. But that whole scene, he's wearing the goggles, his interaction with
knee sliding.
He's excited. He's like, yeah. And George Wendt standing there. And I'm also, as a 42-year-old guy, going, was George Wendt letting his dog shit in his yard?
Yes, I thought the same thing.
Okay. It's not just me. Cause I'm like, that's kind of a dick move right there, man. I understand you didn't like the aunt, but it's not her house anymore. Right. But favorite scene would be that, because it's the very G.I. Joe. You could see yourself as a 12-year-old reenacting that.
Absolutely.
But again, now when I watch the movie, I as a whole movie, I realize how much I love everything of it, even its flaws, right. Even the wire work gardening tools that knock on the door, that that save him. He ducks and they stab themselves into the demon that's chasing him around.
Right.
And they're just waiting. He shuts the door and they stop, and he opens it and they're like, oh, hey, it's you again, and flies. Oh, that's the feel of this movie, was watching Wile E. Coyote do things, watching Bugs Bunny, like, he went that way. Yeah,
they do that in the garden shed, where the guy shoots the harpoon gun and almost hits him.
Forgot about
and
that.
Then doesn't even say, he goes, oops. That's all he says is oops.
And again, a testament to William Katt and how he played this character. The realtor goes, oops, and starts talking about the painting. William Katt's death staring this guy the entire scene. Like, are you not going to acknowledge what you just about did to me with a harpoon? And he just keeps his eyes focused on him. And I'm like, I'm loving what William Katt's done in this movie. Aside from where I wish they would have delved darker, is where I think the failings come from, because I didn't believe him being tormented, because they would try to do that and then it was fine. Even the Vietnam scenes, it's like, it's obviously rubber plants. It's obviously bad set. Big Ben has a skull drawn on his helmet and chicken drumsticks as the crossbones in front of his helmet. And I couldn't stop looking at that. I'm like, they really just shoved chicken drumsticks to make the skull and crossbones, you know. And you know, you're trying to believe William Katt as a hardened Vietnam veteran, and he's too pretty boy. He's too
Yeah.
even in those scenes, it's like I'm not buying this at all. Not even a little bit. I might believe Richard Mall, but again, like you said, he can't not kind of come off as goofy or a lovable giant. You know, you
Right.
just I can't believe him being. I almost would rather him had been more like what is that? 13 Ghosts, the Juggernaut. That
Yes.
that just immense towering power, full of rage. I kind of wish they could have got a little bit of that into Richard Mole,
Mm-hmm.
not G.I. Joe meets Bull from Night Court. That's kind of what we got. But
Right. Yeah.
and I'm not disparaging him. I love it. You know, like you said, it's one of the best lines in the movie, you know, where he runs out of ammo. I love it to death. But yeah, I love the movie. I don't know if I've said that yet. as I love it, and I don't want to keep beating the horse or anything like that. But anything we haven't talked about that's come to your mind talking about this movie at all?
No, I don't think so. I think we've touched on everything. I just, this is that special time, that mid 80s, at least for us, for this
Yeah.
generation. I'm a few years older than you, but still, it's so much nostalgia. Sure, the movies look nicer now, and they're better pacing sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but some, but there's something about these movies that just, I don't know, there's just that feel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was like that with our parents, and who knows, it'll be like that with our kids. I don't know. But to me, this is just right there in that point of time when I was, growing up, and these were those movies that I was gravitating to, and it was fun. It had some nice jump scares. The practical effects were awesome. I mean, I'm still stuck on the bat demon flying, because I mean, it's got to be stop motion of some sort.
It had to be.
And,
It had to be
but
a
it's
mixture of that
still,
and puppetry or something.
yeah, and it was flying in close to him, and then you see the hands grabbing at him, and there's just a lot of work. And of course, it was written, like you said, by Fred Decker, who, come on, we're all, like the fact that, he did Monster Squad, and what, like Night of the Creeps.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's done some of the greats. I mean, this is, but again, we're talking, as old heads and, horror, we've kind of feel like we've seen it all, but I can still go back and watch this movie, and this movie is exactly what this show personifies, of that kind of give me back that feeling that these movies had. Like I can't tell you a movie that could even come close to making me feel like I do for this one. There's good horror movies that are coming out, but I don't know if that magic could ever be captured again.
Right.
It's very childlike. It's very, and it was this, it's kind of like lightning in a bottle, even though I do say they kind of did it again in number 2, but they went more lighthearted with it. Was it had a presence on the VHS rental market. That cover, till the end of time, that thing is on a shrine of most people that love horror movies and VHS era movies. We all know that cover. That artwork is beyond reproach as far as I'm concerned. Whoever drew that, give them an Oscar, give them whatever award you get for drawing movie posters.
Absolutely.
But it's the reason we rented it as kids. Then take what they did in the movie to go, holy shit, that movie was fantastic. I want to go rent it again and again. I don't know how many times we rented the movie. I never bought it. So that means every time I've watched it has either been, like you said, on television, which we didn't get like paid cable till a lot later. So I don't know if I ever even got to watch it on like HBO or Cinemax or something. I had to have rented this movie probably enough. I probably could have bought it 5 or 6 times over.
Probably, yes.
Even at $1 a pop, I probably could have bought this movie. And I'm also kind of like, why don't I own this movie?
Right.
Why is this not in my collection? I didn't even look it up. I need to see if they've done it. Like, is there a 4K? The Amazon Prime version is gorgeous. That's lit beautifully. The transfer isn't grainy. It's not like this weird thing. It just kind of removed a little bit of the mystery for me in certain parts, where you're
Right.
like, also I'm watching it on a 65-inch television, not the 20-inch regular television.
We are
We
old.
Stop it, James. We're not that old. We are that old. Nate's the baby of the group, and he's in his 30s. So,
Right.
what can we do? But no, the nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and if you want a hellacious fix, House is a movie to watch. Period. Go if you've never seen it, please go watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again. It's never a bad time to watch House. That's all there is to it. So let's knock out some Raining Blood, because some people did die in this movie. So let's do that. That's the most blood that we're gonna get. We get a little scratch on William Katt's chest that looks like it was drawn on with permanent marker.
Right.
On that perfectly chiseled chest, and the V cut
V-neck.
V belly button sweater. I just watch it again. You'll in high def. It was even more glorious. It was like Roman god type. All right, okay, that's not the Raining Blood, James. Stop getting me distracted.
Okay.
Our Raining Blood is 8, but we have an asterisk with one of, and Nate's missing out, man. We're bringing back a favorite of the show. The asterisk is we have a dead. Not only does someone die, they come technically back to life and die again, which is Big Ben. So, and we're not counting Tanya. She doesn't die.
No.
The demon's not real. None of that happens. The aunt does pass away, and we are counting the Vietnamese that got shot in the battle sequences. It happens on screen.
Right.
We count it. But no, Big Ben dies in Vietnam, comes back as a zombie, and then spectacularly blows up with a grenade in his stomach. I don't know if we said that, but he shoves one of those little round grenades right up in his chest, and we get that again. Looney Tunes like, uh-oh. And William Katt runs out the house with his son, and the house explodes and catches fire. Which, if I'm remembering right, I think that was kind of a thing in the House movies. I think at the end of the movies, it always caught fire or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I think that was
Well, I do. You know what I loved? With all these television actors in it, the fact that the movie ends with the freeze frame.
It does.
Of William Katt standing on the front porch smiling.
Yeah. Oh, he has gone through what should be way more traumatic than Vietnam. So that on top of his PTSD, he's smiling like a Cheshire cat. He is like, yeah, we did it. I was waiting for like the thumbs up move or everyone jump up in the air and do the freeze frame that we're used to. But all right, well, that's our Raining Blood. 8 with a dead. Nate, you missed our dead. So I don't know why we need to. I think we just need to put a number to it, but let's do the Machete rating real quick.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. Woo!
And see, that's from Jason X, so that's Kane Hodder, so it ties perfectly into this movie. So everything I brought up earlier all comes full circle at the end of the show, people. Charlie has a plan, a master plan. Not really. I'm flying by the seat of my pants half the time. But James, since you've come back, and hopefully come back again after I make you watch. You love this movie, don't
Oh
act
yeah,
like you didn't.
yeah. This is all good. This is all good.
If you don't remember, actually you've never got to rate a movie. We didn't
I have
rate
not.
Witch House. We didn't. So on a scale of 1 to 10 machetes, because I stole, you can't have my thing I did on the last episode. I don't know if you've listened yet, but that's my shtick. You can't
Okay.
steal it. How many machetes do you give House?
You know, on nostalgia alone, you get a 7 out of this one for me.
Oh, 100%. I almost kind of want to look at this like there's my nostalgia scale, and then there's me watching it as a horror fan scale. Really not that different. I think nostalgia wise, I'm 7.5. I think, not that I'm purposely trying to be just that little bit above you, but I had thought about
Right.
it and I was like, I would love to say, if you again, this is that Ask 12-year-old Charlie, this would have been like a 9.5 all day long.
Right.
And now I'm looking at it going, okay, some things didn't hold up right. I wish they'd have done something different, but nostalgia still plays a huge deal. It's 7.5 machetes for me. It's got its flaws, but again,
Right.
I think it just adds to, especially if you grew up with it, it just adds more to the charm that despite its flaws, we're watching it with a smile on our face. I
Right.
mean, I have to imagine you're just like, I love this. Just remembering scenes, remembering being a kid, watching this going, oh my God, I love this. Oh, I remember that now. Because I was doing that last night. I was just like, I think Jackie should record me one night watching a movie I actually love. Like if she'd have done it during Beastmaster, it would have just been nothing but me and smiling and getting like all excited when things happen. But this one, I'm probably the same. Like I didn't have my phone in my hand. I was watching the movie. I was in it, which is why I was able to, I guess, pick apart the story a little more than I probably should have,
Right.
because I'm too far in. I'm like, that was amazing. Why did that happen? That was awesome. Why did you write it like that? So high marks from both of us. I had no doubts. I know Nate's not here. I'm going to say he's right in the same ballpark as us, because he lit up when I said this movie. He was visibly disappointed when he looked at his calendar and went, damn it, you said this night, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did. Quite a while back ago, I did. But that's okay. We'll forgive him. He's a trooper. He shows up. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else we can say about the movie. James, what do you think?
No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a blast. I enjoy doing it. So hopefully you'll have me back sometime and
Oh,
we'll
absolutely.
do it again.
Absolutely. As long as my rambling didn't run you off. And it's where I found that I do kind of like that 3-person conversation at times,
Yeah.
especially when a movie warrants it. It's just getting a little bit more perspective and conversation. But I think we nailed it. Best episode we've ever done, as far as I'm concerned. Nate's not here.
Excellent.
Best episode ever. If anyone has anything to say about it, I won't read the email. It's fine. So we got.
Let's see. You know, that when that came on in the movie,
Oh.
I just wanted to throw that in there at the end
Oh, that's
because that
fine.
was something that popped up, and I thought, what a great use for the montages with that one and dedicated to the one I love.
Yes.
When they played that, I mean, it was so out of left field. So I just want to throw that in, wrap up with the "You're No Good" song.
I think that's brilliant. If you'd have told me ahead of time, I could have pulled you the drop. But no, that's because I was like you. You're not expecting that type of a mainstream song. If anything, that's probably where some of the budget went. It was, we got to get licensing to play this song. But no, the soundtrack, love it, and and it's 2 songs. I watched all the way to the end of the credits because I was looking for Kane Hodder's name.
Yes.
I was doing because for some reason I'm watching credits and that name could have been glowing, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, Kane Hodder, and then it happens again.
Yeah.
But there's like 2 songs. It's that one and there's one other, I can't remember the name of it. They play for
Dedicated to the one I love.
That's dedicated to the one I love. Only
And You're
2
No
songs.
Good. Yep.
Perfect songs for the movie. I love it. So that will end out our episode of House. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Like I said, go watch the movie if you haven't. Go watch it if you have, and watch it again. Share it with your family. Tell a friend. Tell everyone. Let's get that movie like trending or something. It needs recognition again. But let's just give thanks to all our network brothers, everyone that you heard in the commercial. We got the I Know You Hear Me podcast with Flynn Hendricks, Tales from the Haunt with Flynn and Just Jeff. We have Monster Movie Stomp Down. You heard the Frank and Stompy commercial. That's going to be a fun little bit that's happening. I'm excited to see where it goes. Sludge is always coming up with these wild ideas. I also got a messenger message of something he ordered that came in the mail today that he'll be sharing soon on his group page. So looking forward to that. You'll love it. Good beer, bad movie night. Pete, you heard Pete on the last episode and how much he loves to torment me with movies he picks. He's not allowed to pick a movie for a while. I haven't decided how long he's grounded, but he is now grounded. Nate's ungrounded. I'm putting that out there. No more hashtag free Nate. Nate's free. He's not even here, and I freed him. That's how this works. We have Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. They're on episode 3 or 4. Should have a couple interview episodes drop by the time this comes out. So give those guys a listen. Everywhere you find us, on Facebook, Instagram, we are always sharing everyone else's things. I feel like there's so many other shows. I almost feel like I'm missing one, but I'm pretty sure it's just the action show, which is this one. PosterSmash. We need posters, James.
I know.
James, you're
I'm a
slacking.
little behind. I'm slacking.
Man, I need material. I need to share it. But like I said earlier, WitchHouse is making waves in the horror community, man. You can't deny it. It is winning awards. It's getting accepted into multiple film festivals. That has to be amazing for you guys.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for the flight. I've seen the movie. I can't wait till it comes out and we can actually talk about the movie. That's the only thing about seeing these movies early is I can't really talk about it all that much. You guys got to dig a little bit deeper as you guys went on Sludge's show, Monster Movie Stomp Down.
Yeah. We talked a little bit more about it on his show, just bits and pieces.
Yeah, no, you guys didn't spoil anything, and I was surprised because I knew
it got close. It got close a couple times.
It got close. I was like, I don't know, that matter should have been edited, but okay, you dodged it. But no, if you haven't checked out that one, go check out the interview over there that they do with Sludge over at Monster Movie Stomp Down. James and Bobby's doing some awesome stuff. Hopefully some more things will come down the pipe. We will see where that goes. You can reach us at email gmbmampod@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone, Mountain Empire Comics, Johnson City and Bristol, Diane and Rob. Love you guys, big supporters of our show. We'll have conventions coming up that we'll be doing, so we'll have more information as that drops. And I think that's it. If I forgot somebody, I'm sorry. I'll get you on the next one. But I'm tired. James is probably tired of listening to me ramble. And we miss Nate. Nate, come back home. We don't know how long he'll be gone. He'll be back the next episode. He's fine. It's all good. James, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you. But I am gonna. You gotta get us out on the word because Nate usually gets us out on the good word. You pick a good word to get us out on.
Solid.
Hail to the king, baby.
Ammunition.